What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here from DataDash, and today is July 10th of 2023. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's video, I want to spend some time to talk about the next major altcoin cycle, and more particularly in the near term, the last wave of capitulation we expect for altcoin prices. As Bitcoin has shown relative strength here over the past couple of months, altcoins have continued to lag, setting in lower highs and lower lows. This leads us to believe, especially when we analyze the price action of some of the leading altcoin plays, that we are in for one last final flush. This is going to clear out a lot of the noise and signal to us which players are resilient and ready in the case of an inevitable move up to the upside if things start to get more positive. We've got a lot of things to dive into in today's video, and very fittingly, we've got an interview with Tommy World Power, who is the CEO and founder of Energi blockchain. They're one of the leading layer ones on our radar here. So if you guys are interested in one of the potential plays we're interested in, definitely keep an eye for that interview later on in the video. You guys won't want to miss it. And if you guys happen to enjoy the video, consider dropping a like, and let's go ahead and kick off the rambling. All right, I want to go ahead and start off here by diving into Bitcoin. I'm analyzing things on market cap terms because I want to make it clear here that while a lot of people are doubting we'll set in new lows for this cycle, or potentially even revisit this range here, I want to make it very clear that what we're experiencing here is one of the weakest recoveries and the longest run out recoveries for Bitcoin so far. I really want to speak to this not just because of the macro factors. Sure, the Fed is set to continue raising interest rates here in the next FOMC meeting. The prediction markets have high degrees of confidence that is going to be the case, and it makes sense as, again, we are starting to see financial markets really start to reinflate. But on top of that as well, if we take a look at those that are really the top performers, Bitcoin has actually really been lagging in large part comparative towards the broader markets like the NASDAQ, the big FANG stocks, or those who have benefited from AI. And if we take a look at the altcoin market, the situation has not been any better. If we compare for Bitcoin here, this rally versus the prior one from the bear market lows in December 2018, within a 6-month period, we saw a 344% move. This time around, after nearly 8 to 7 months here, we've only seen a 100% move. And I understand some people are saying, Nick, 100% still great. Yeah, at the end of the day though, guys, even though you have diminishing returns, this is a pretty weak recovery here. Not to mention, we've been stagnating for multiple months here without any clear trend direction. And this is up against a pretty heavy weight of resistance in Bitcoin's price here on the weekly time frame, as we've continued to face resistance around the prior support range from back in the 2021 period for Bitcoin. So I want to go ahead and signal here that Bitcoin is already showing some weakness, and signaling that I think at a minimum we're going to come down and revisit those lows, or come back down into this prior support range from here in June to November of 2022. Or we are going to come and test some major trend lines here, coming down towards potentially $250 billion in market cap. That would be a really nice pullback here for Bitcoin from top to bottom. That would be your kind of historical 80-85% correction that we're used to seeing. And that would be generally in line with where we'd want to start heavily dollar cost averaging. It's not even some doomsday scenario for Bitcoin. That's actually a weaker correction than, say, the last bear market, where we went down a total of around 84%. And you guys understand, as we calculate from top to bottom, those minor percentage changes are a huge difference. But I want to go ahead and again signal here the general head and shoulders pattern we're finding with Bitcoin's performance against the NASDAQ. While it again is a rising head and shoulders pattern, this is again a sign that if we cannot get follow through and clear through those prior relative highs in April, where Bitcoin is the leading asset, this likely signals the risk on mentality is not ready yet. That institutions and accumulators who really set the foundation for new bull markets and allow for optimism to take over potential sell side pressure, that means we need lower prices before their appetite is met. And that, for me, is what I'm watching for here. I don't think we've seen that just yet. Just because we had FTX and all the capitulation back in 2022, it does not mean prices can continue. They can't continue to lag lower. That's a big dynamic people need to understand. Altcoins, I think, are a prime example here that are demonstrating this. Right now, we've continued to set lower highs and lower lows over the past year, with no serious sign of trend direction to the upside, and resistance, clear resistance, twice, a double top here against the 200-week simple moving average, with our trend indicator for the past couple of weeks giving us that early warning sign in May of the pullback we saw in June of over 18% in a matter of just a week, generally showcasing to us that the trend is not in the favor of the bulls just yet. Now, what's really great here is if we come down here and start to look towards potentially getting another relative low comparative to the 2 prior lows, which is giving us a descending line of support. If we come down here, we can find some potential support around $155 billion. And I think if Bitcoin shows some relative resilience here, holds up relatively well in price, the better case scenario is that this might be the lows for altcoins. And it would be a generally good range here to start spotting some value opportunities. This is around 85% from the prior all-time highs. And considering that, generally speaking, we didn't have anywhere near the kind of price multiple in the last bull market versus the prior one when it came to altcoins, perhaps we're going to have a weaker correction and perhaps inflation is dealt with better. That's the optimistic scenario, guys. And I'm trying to play kind of devil's advocate here to showcase that, again, whether you're taking the optimistic scenario or you're taking the really bearish scenario where Bitcoin would continue collapsing and we really start to see all assets pull back and Bitcoin weighs down altcoins further, I would expect that this probably is going to go lower if that's the case. So this is really where, again, I think we could potentially start to see some resilience on the more optimistic scenario. And we have been seeing that, generally speaking, in US stocks due to the AI mania or people just believing that inflation is done with, that the Fed has done its job, that there has been that optimistic tone, right? So again, as much as we hang on the more bearish side of things, I will keep open to the idea that this might be the initial range where we want to start averaging into some altcoins, doing it slowly and steady, but starting to accelerate it if we move below this range and can start to get in at much cheaper discounts, generally pushing from around 85% more close towards around 90% at the $100 billion mark. This would be the next support range that I'm watching for here. Not only is it a big even level, but it's a clean 90% correction, and this is where we had multiple weeks of support as well as prior resistance in the past, back here in August of 2020. So those are two kind of significant ranges you can watch for. But on top of that, I just want to go ahead and emphasize the key reality here, which is that right now, altcoins are not signaling any degree of confidence. The plays we should expect to be leading in this new market cycle, those that were really kind of the leaders back in January, are not showing up to the plate here. We are seeing the layer 2 plays like optimism continuing to bleed out here. Arbitrum, USDT, continuing to set in lower highs and lower lows, setting in some more resilience, I would say, but also not making the kind of accelerated price moves that optimism made back when Bitcoin started to recover, all the way from around $1 all the way to $3. And the big thing here that I want to talk about, guys, is no matter if your favorite altcoin is doing well or not, we've got to talk about the large play here. I'm not talking about Ethereum, right? Ethereum already is generally kind of chopping lower against Bitcoin on a week-to-week time frame and has maintained a negative trend on both the weekly and the monthly time frame against Bitcoin, which is already showcasing weakening dominance here for Ethereum, the leading play. But on top of that, it speaks to the altcoin space when BNB is continuing to teeter right on its 200 week. Now, I want to again emphasize here why this is concerning me so much. It'd be one thing if altcoins were just trending lower. Maybe we might see some optimism. The difference is in how price reacts when it comes in contact with these price levels and these indicators. Take a look here at the fact that Binance, right, Binance Coin or BNB, has revisited the 200 week in the past. It did so in June of 2022. And from that period of time, it rallied from around its lows of around $183 all the way within just a matter of practically 2 months, coming all the way up towards a relative high of $336. Basically, almost coming up on doubling its valuation within a matter of 2 months. Now, that's the kind of thing that we called back in the day as a relief rally. We predicted it, we took advantage of that relief rally, we closed our positions on the more kind of trading side of things, and that was a great decision to make, not in BNB specifically, but in the altcoin space as a whole, from plays like Uni, Ethereum, and even Bitcoin at the time, right? And while Bitcoin has shown some resilience there, BNB continued to stagnate alongside the broader range of altcoins and trend sideways for nearly coming up on a year. But with the recent thought around Binance, the concern around whether or not SEC and other regulators are going to step in and try to contract large players like Binance, right? The narrative that BlackRock and all these players are coming into the space and are just going to steal market share overnight. Look, I don't care whether or not the narrative has any grounds to it or not. I'm not here to try to preach that narrative or get you guys to be fearful. All I'm saying is the charts tell me that there is a much weaker response, because last time we were approaching the 200-week, buyers came in, drove it back up to that same range we saw back in August. Now, for the last 6 weeks, dive here into the weekly time frame so you can see it more clearly. For the last 4-5 weeks here, we have continued to just ride right along that 200-week. There is nowhere near the kind of buy-side pressure that's driving it up, retesting the 200-day moving average. This is an alarm bell that should be getting all investors concerned right now. To just be prepared at a minimum for another wave of capitulation. Because if BNB, which bear in mind, market cap wise, is a very large cryptocurrency, it's at $36 billion. If BNB even comes down here to some of our initial target levels we're looking for, between 28 to 32 billion, slicing another couple billion in market cap is not only going to mean a further correction here of around 10 to 20% for BNB, potentially worse if that level does not hold as we enter into practically no man's land here for BNB with no serious support range until an 82% correction. I'm not saying that it's going to go all the way down there. That would only happen if Binance really goes down as a platform or has some skeletons in its closet. But put aside that kind of doomsday scenario, even another 10-20% correction in BNB is going to spell bad news for the altcoin space and is likely going to mean that as we turn back towards our altcoin indicator, that essentially, or the altcoin market cap, that this target range is at a minimum the level we should be looking for here. Now, here's the good news, guys. The good news here is that as we're leaning into this more kind of optimistic scenario, if we take a look at our dominance metrics, we are getting very close here, probably within the next 2 or 3 months, towards finding that low in dominance for altcoins, at least historically speaking. If we take a look here in December of 2020, this is our custom metric here that's adding in Bitcoin dominance, ETH dominance, USDT, and USDC. We can see that this range between 85% and 90% dominance between the two largest cryptocurrencies and stablecoin counterparts. Essentially, when we get up into this range, that's where buyers came in last time. And I'm not saying that it's a guarantee here. I'm not saying that altcoin dominance can't continue to climb higher, but we have been vehement on this channel about avoiding altcoins for the moment and waiting for those real accumulation ranges, waiting for a minimum to retest where we saw buyers come in last time. And I think that there's a very fair case to be made that buyers will start to come in here. Now, this general line has just been, it's not really meant to demonstrate when it's going to happen. It just generally trying to demonstrate here that essentially we need to see the dominance for these 4 plays continue to rise, squeezing the altcoin market dominance lower, allowing for a high amount of stablecoin liquidity versus altcoin market capitalization. And that essentially leaves us in a position where there's a lot of Bitcoin and ETH, which are usually off of their lows and starting to trend, or at least start to chop sideways. So they're no longer bleeding out. You're starting to see stablecoins either hold out or accelerate, which increases the amount of potential liquidity that can circulate on altcoins that are at much cheaper valuations. So that for me is what I'm watching for here. As we approach these levels, I'm looking for good, solid plays that have strong narratives, that are fixing issues that have not been solved in the crypto space. I'm looking for low market cap or mid market cap plays that are, in this case, kind of diamonds in the rough, and hopefully showcasing some signs of sideways movement or starting to accelerate and set in higher lows and higher highs. Now, all of them won't reveal themselves right now. What I mean more on the technical price analysis side is how they're going to perform in this last capitulation wave. While a lot of people will be looking for kind of plays that are continuing to bleed out during that period of time, I would really like to find plays that are starting to go sideways or even trend higher. Those that are starting to lead against the broader market. And although that's not an absolute essential part, I think it is something to look out for on the TA side of things. We want to start seeing those plays start to show resilience here, not just looking for those that have bled the most during this period of time. Again, we are generally seeing weakness here in Bitcoin over the past few months as we've been not able to really clear towards new relative highs. And I think that we need to be cautious here that at a minimum, we're going to see some kind of correction in Bitcoin, and that is going to continue to further weigh on altcoins, giving us that final capitulation event. Generally speaking, the more optimistic scenario is to wait for a target of around $150 billion for total to market cap minus Ethereum and stablecoins. However, I want to go ahead and spend some time here to talk about one of the plays we're really excited about here in the market. This is a layer 1 network that I feel has the opportunity to become the Kusama of the Ethereum ecosystem, to become the mainnet testing ground for all EVM compatible applications built in Solidity, for networks like Ethereum all the way to networks like Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, and Optimism and Arbitrum. I think that this is where a lot of the innovation is going to find itself because they've nailed one key issue, and that is security. Today, I want to go ahead and spend some time to talk to Tommy Woodpower, who's the CEO and founder of Energi. And if you guys haven't kept Energi on your radar, definitely watch this interview, and I definitely recommend you keep them on your watch list. So let's go ahead and dive into the interview with Tommy. Alrighty, everyone. So in today's sponsored interview, I'm sitting down with a long-term friend of mine in the crypto space. It is none other than Tommy Woodpower, the founder of Energi. Energi has been not only one of the longer-term partners here on the DataDash channel, but Tommy has been a great friend of mine in the crypto space. He's self-funded this really exciting focus on building a blockchain for the everyday person to get into the crypto space. And I think to be one of the more sustainable communities long-term focused on something that doesn't get talked about enough in crypto, which is security. So Tommy, thank you, man, for making the time. I'm really excited to hear about what you guys are building at the moment. You got some big launches coming up. And I think, again, you've got really the steadfast vision to be able to survive the next bull run and beyond. So thanks for making the time, man.
Yeah, good to be here. Good to see you guys or talk to you guys. And yeah, let's have some fun.
Awesome. So I wanted to go ahead and kick off things with just trying to give people a little bit of background. We're going to talk about a lot of exciting developments that you guys have going on. But for those who are maybe hearing about Energi or meeting you for the first time, Tommy, like give them the background about yourself. And also, I think we just passed a couple of days ago the anniversary for Energi and kind of the story behind it. So I think it'd be a cool thing to start off with.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in crypto quite a while, guys. I was also an OG crypto YouTuber. I was into Ethereum around its inception, and I actually had got quite a lot of Ethereum early on. I actually got a home equity loan and got 10,000 Ether back in January 2016 for $10,000. It was $1 at the time, so that was pretty cool. I also had quite a lot of Dogecoin as well too. I was really early in Dogecoin. I had a lot of that in 2014. But yeah, I've been in crypto for quite a long time. I've studied it a lot, and I kind of along my path. It was actually the 4th of July, 2017, and I was seeing everyone's Instagram posts for the 4th of July and the fireworks and the spirit of Independence Day in the US. And that's a really important point, you guys. We take it kind of for granted, but the United States really has more liberties than a lot of the world. And I'm grateful for growing up in the US and everything it's afforded me. And I got this message from the universe on that day, the 4th of July, 2017, to make a blockchain like no one else was going to make. It was a strong message. I didn't know what that was going to look like, but I just knew I had to do it. And so I did. And now we're 6 years out from that. I didn't know what it was then, but I know what it is now. Energi, the blockchain that I founded, is the only blockchain in the world that I know of that properly protects users and businesses. And we did that. It took 3 years basically to build the blockchain. It was originally a Dash fork because Dash had a treasury. And I wanted Energi launch right. I didn't do an ICO in 2017. Everyone was doing an ICO, raising $20 million. I didn't want to do that. I wanted Energi to be born as a pure thing. So I just had the coins emitted like Bitcoin. We did an airdrop too, where we gave away millions of dollars of Energi. But it took 3 years to evolve from a Dash fork to get to an Ethereum code base. Energi is very similar to Ethereum. I did that on purpose. I have a lot of love for Ethereum, and I believe in the network effects. You know, everything being built on Ethereum is quite compatible with Energi. Energi is like 99% the same DNA as Ethereum. But there's a couple big differences, but the biggest difference that exists today, which is really important, is we built decentralized governance into the blockchain protocol level. And we did that by using smart contracts as well. Now, the reason why this is important is because the biggest application of decentralized governance is protecting people. And this is something I had the foresight of seeing years ago, way back then, but we see today that the biggest pain point in crypto is the issue of crime. And I felt the pain of our users, our community members. I see them as our citizens, and just my friends and family and crypto at large, that you guys see the scams are getting worse every day. This is a result of not having the proper protections in place. So that is how the spirit of Energi, and now I understand, the United States talks about liberty and justice for all, and those are the same embodiments of Energi. We have that liberty. It's a permissionless blockchain, all that, just as open as Ethereum, but the justice part is what's lacking in most blockchains, which we have. We have justice. Scammers don't get away with crime on our network. I'll explain to you how that works. But this is the future of crypto. This is the big next level up after smart contracts. And other huge smart minds have seen that even before me, but I'm the only one that I know that's executed that. So we're ready for the future.
I wanted to hit on that point, Tommy, because one thing I can't remember if you mentioned it earlier, Tommy, but a lot of people may know that Tommy has also a YouTube channel in the crypto space. You've been covering crypto again since back when you were kind of starting in your early days of investing. And I think one thing that you've seen over the time, and I've also seen myself throughout the crypto industry, is that you've seen what works, what doesn't. You took inspiration from Dash, the treasury model, which I think was pretty revolutionary at the time. EVM compatibility with smart contracts and tokens within the Ethereum network. You guys have been able to piece a lot of these things together. But one thing, Tommy, that I think you really get that a lot of people just have simply just chosen to ignore in the crypto space, or maybe haven't realized the value of yet, is security and being able to have on-chain governance and security. The reason why this is so big in my mind is, as you mentioned, it's not just our feeling that things are getting worse. The hacks are getting more creative. There are absolute multitudes of different types of rug pulls in the space where people essentially lose all their money investing in a certain project where the founder essentially goes away with all the money. I mean, there's different types of personalized attacks where people get their NFTs stolen. You use malicious websites that basically exploit you through some kind of malicious smart contract and a deceiving front end. I mean, there's dozens of different ways that you can lose money, and it's gotten into the billions of dollars. And this has completely stunted the growth of crypto because those who are the biggest advocates for this industry, those who are adding to the growth numbers, they're now regressing because they're never going to come back to the industry when they lose $1,000, a couple $100, multiple tens of thousands, if not up to $1 million in some new DeFi protocol. So I think what you guys have really built here, what you've realized, Tommy, is that right now, blockchain and crypto as a whole, it's a sandbox. This is a multi-billion-dollar market, not a multi-trillion-dollar market in the sense of where DeFi can really grow to. And I think you see that, and you see that security is so important. And for me, I think this really makes Energi as a network a potential testing ground for all EVM networks. For me, like I see that there was, I remember, I don't mean to interject too much, but I think back to like 2018, 2019, 2020, when people like Andre Cronje, who was creator in Europe of Euro Finance and a couple other DeFi protocols, he always did this thing of testing and production. And that was a bit reckless on Ethereum because while it gave you this really great growth incentive that you didn't get, you got a lot of people using these tools, testing new applications versus, say, on a testnet like Gorelli or Ropsten on the Ethereum network. At the same time, people were still getting hacked. And if the contracts got exploited, it was use it at your own risk. It's your fault. And I didn't like that. I thought that while that was really smart in the sense that it brought growth, it left a lot of users losing everything. And that's a serious thing. That's people's life savings or large portions of their savings. So I think what you guys have built with Energi, now that I understand the defense mechanism, what you guys have built is absolutely powerful and potentially gives that potential for Energi, which has perfected this, to be able to be a really large network long term and service and flourish a lot of other EVM compatible ecosystems with it. So I want to go ahead and give you some time because I know you talk a lot about security, Tony, but the one thing which we've chatted about before, which is I want people to see what that looks like. And I'm curious to hear maybe if you could kind of go through that a little bit.
For sure. Those are, excuse me, those are great points. Let me just start here, you guys. And I've realized this because first of all, let me say, you guys, Henry Ford brought cars when everyone else had horses. And that's what I kind of realized. Honestly, that's kind of the level Energi is on. Okay. So what I've realized in explaining this to people is a lot of people don't even know what we've built is possible. But let me tell you, first of all, the first thing that we all have to come from, let's take this from the highest level, right? As humanity, we have to look after each other, right? And you guys do that. There's so many good people in the world, right? You look after your friends, you look after your family members, you stand up for each other. These are great qualities, you know, especially if it's an honorable thing. My estimation is 90% of people in crypto have been scammed in some way. And there's many people who've been scammed 5 to 10 times in various different ways. I have a CEO friend of a big blockchain company. He confided to me he's scammed 5 or 10 times over the years. Guys, scams are terrible. And as someone, as a founder and CEO myself, I see them all. I hear all the reports, and it's sad. The scammers don't come from one place. They come from all sorts of countries all over the world. And there's also so little recourse, you guys. You guys have to understand the problem and the pain that people go through when they get scammed. You know, to put yourself in that position. One of my friends put his life savings in crypto, right? And then he got someone who was supporting him support, and they built trust, and they tricked him, and they got access to his stuff, and it was gone. And I've seen that happen to people over and over again. So the first thing that has to happen is we all have to realize there's a major problem. That's kind of step one. And then the next part is, what does a solution look like? And this is the mentality we have to come from. And this is what I've done. And I've found that I've gone down this path much farther than anyone else I know in the crypto space. I mean, my team, you know, but it starts with the feeling the pain of others, and it goes on to caring about them. And then what does a solution look like? So if you're coming from that frame of mind, you'll understand what we built, and it's pretty revolutionary. And I believe it's the way of the future. I believe it's necessary, because until you can bring your mom into crypto and not have to worry about her getting scammed a couple weeks later, then crypto is not ready for mass adoption. And crypto has a lot of users right now, which is great. It's growing. We love it, but it's really not ready for mainstream. And as you've said, Nick, companies are leery. It's actually holding crypto back right now. Yeah. Companies want to launch billions of dollars of assets in crypto, but they can't because they're rightfully worried. Because what if there's one little bug in the smart contract, and that happens? One little bug, and the scammer, the hacker, could take all those assets and immediately dump them on an exchange. That's what they usually do. They immediately dump them, and then it can cause hundreds of millions of dollars damage to that company or that person, and it ruins the company's reputation, and they're out, just like you said. So it's holding crypto back, this lack of security.
Yeah. I think on that point, Tommy, like I'll go ahead and I'll put up a little bit of a screenshot here and stuff that demonstrates a little bit about how you guys do this. But let's give people maybe like a brief view into what that looks like from like a protocol level, because I think, again, as you mentioned, there's still stuff like this going. I think Euler Finance back a month or two ago had a multi-$100 million hack in the bear market. You know, like this stuff is just constantly like a domino effect on the industry. So I'm curious, like, let's say that we saw an innovative protocol or decentralized application being built on Energi. And let's say it's a different maybe lending borrowing protocol similar to Aave or Compound, but there's an exploit in the contract and someone has withdrawn all the funds. How does that situation look within Energi, and how does EBI and the kind of multi-level defense system that you guys have built kind of kick in and basically set recourses on that action?
For sure. So I'll walk it through. I'm assuming you have the slide up, so I'll walk the users through this so you guys can understand. So the first thing that happens is when someone has a crime, they report it. And you can set up wallet alerts on your account. You can actually do this on Ethereum and probably other blockchains as well. We do that with Energi alerts. You can just sign up. So anytime assets move from your wallet, you get an email. So first thing, you notice that your assets have moved. You didn't do it. So come and report the crime to us. You can set a support ticket. Just come in the Discord and let us know. And then the way our governance works is you can do proposals. And if there's twice as many yes votes as no votes on a proposal to freeze an address, it could even be 100 Energi. As long as there's more yes votes or twice as many yes votes than no votes, an address can be temporarily frozen. So community member can come and say, hey, I'm a victim to crime. Someone help me just temporarily freeze this so we can investigate it. That's step one. And then we have the EBI. This is our team who does cybersecurity for corporations and governments and stuff. They zoom into this, and we've done hundreds of these cases over the years. So that's one thing I want to say too. This is not like an idea. We're getting the word out. This is time tested and it works. So they'll come in, they'll investigate it to see what happened. We have a whole process of how that investigation works. And It's pretty thorough. We determine that crime is valid, then we do a new governance vote to freeze that address. If we have a 10% vote, that address can be permanently frozen until further ado, until we figure out exactly what happened. That buys us time to do a really thorough investigation. Thorough investigations take about a month to really get to the bottom of, get all the information and all that. And once we get to a clear conclusion of what happened, if there is a valid crime there, then we can do a new proposal to actually drain that attacker's address into a recovery wallet, and we send it back to the user. This is really advanced stuff, you guys. I want to just preface this. This is stuff that no one else that I know of is done in crypto. We've had it for years. Again, time tested and works. And guess what happens, you guys, when you have a good security system? Criminals stop messing with your users. That's what happens.
Come. Yeah.
They don't come because they can't get away with it.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple of things to note about your solution, Tommy. Like, one thing that people hear when they probably think about this is they go, oh, wait, this isn't decentralization, or like that you're basically rolling back the chain. And none of those are actually true. And it's, again, I think the topic of decentralization can be subjective, but to be honest, I think at the end of the day, you have an actual governance system of users, a decentralized network that can't be shut down. They're taking the action here to basically allow for this temporary hold or being able to help protect other users in the ecosystem. And on top of that as well, outside of it being a decentralized governance system, you guys aren't deleting chain history. You can't go back and manipulate transaction history. In fact, what this solution's doing is that you are essentially having this drainer contract that can essentially act as a protective layer. Once it's clear, the governance system can essentially withdraw those funds and redistribute it back to users. Imagine, like with the Euler Finance hack, like you have thousands of users impacted. Immediately, once everything is resolved, the situation is clear, everyone knows it's been a hack, all those users getting their funds back and not losing 1,000 users and multi-millions amounts of dollars in the crypto industry. I mean, that's a huge benefit for the industry long term. And I think, again, having that within Energi, I think gives it a strong foothold, where, as you mentioned, you don't even have hackers show up to the door and try to steal money from people. They only do it in ecosystems where they know they can get away with it.
Totally. Those are great points you brought up, you guys. And I want you guys to think about this stuff. Again, Nick and I have been in crypto for a long time. We both study crypto extensively. So understand this is pretty advanced stuff, but I want you guys to understand this, because this is what we need to evolve the crypto space. So first of all, the meaning of decentralization. What does decentralization mean? Decentralization means a network that is virtually impossible to take down. In other words, if someone comes to me and says, hey, Tommy, take Energi down, I'm sorry, I can't do it, because there's nodes all over the world running the network. That's what decentralization means. Decentralization doesn't mean a lack of governance. This is a high level thing that the crypto space has to evolve to understand. And in fact, the future of crypto is competition for governance. Right now, we're leading the way. Right now, we're leading the way in this, but we won't be the only ones in the future. I'm thinking 10, 20 years ahead, there's going to be other blockchains that also have governance. And you guys, this is really powerful. If you think of the highest level of crypto is competition for the money you use. And right now, you guys are all doing that by using whatever crypto you want to use. But ultimately, it's competition for governance. What protocol, what money is going to take care of you the best? Is going to protect you the best, is going to look after you the best. You are the citizens of that protocol. And it's the responsibility of a protocol to protect its citizens. This is the end game of crypto. This is the advanced stuff that, vast majority of people haven't thought about, but we've thought about deeply. And again, you have to come from a place of caring about people, of caring, like, so many protocols have just said, oh, it's not our responsibility. It's absolutely their responsibility. True leadership is about taking responsibility of whatever you're doing. If you're running a store, it's taking responsibility of the store. If you're the president of a country, it's your responsibility to oversee that country. If you're leading a crypto, if you're part of that, the leadership there, it's your responsibility to protect the people.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, you're preaching to the choir here, man. I mean, to be honest, Tommy, like, this is something I've tried to get across, that, to many people, if we don't fix this in crypto, there may not be another bull market. There may not be another chapter for crypto if we can't get this message of improving the security threshold of the crypto space. And it's not about taking authority into our hands as a community, but it's about giving governance to those who are actually contributing, who are using that ecosystem, and making sure that hackers, again, don't have a home in crypto, or people who are trying to do malicious or nefarious things and just hamper down the industry. I really think, to be honest, man, like there's over the past couple of years, the EVM ecosystem has exploded. I mean, you've got like Arbitrum, you've got Optimism, which are using rollups, you've got Polygon or Matic, you've got Avalanche, all these networks which have improved maybe consensus, scalability, or one of those kind of core elements that was really the topic of discussion when throughput became an issue and people started looking for alternatives. But not only has Energi done those things, you guys have really strong throughput and still relatively good blockchain confirmation time. But the big thing you focused on that I haven't seen anyone talk about or like do anywhere near as close as you guys is that element of security. And I think this really opens up a good opportunity. I thought about like, alternative networks that have just tried to completely ditch Solidity overall as a language, which so many developers already know about. They're going out and trying to build their own things, so like Polkadot, for example. And with its model itself of having these different parachains, one of the big networks that they rely on is Kusama. And Kusama is not a test net, but it's this kind of test bed for new projects that eventually could open up their own network on top of Polkadot and become some of the core applications. And to me, that's what I see Energi as here. And for the Ethereum ecosystem, there is no safe place other than test nets. And projects, I would say, go to die on testnet. Most people do not test them. People do not use them. There's no real weight and incentive towards being an early adopter. Whereas now with Energi, you guys have this opportunity to really be a network where all great ideas begin and they flourish throughout other vast ranges of the EVM, kind of ecosystem. It could be also an Energi as well, but I think it's this kind of mindset and this structure of governance and security as priority number one is going to be the test bed where anyone who wants to do anything different and not just fork off existing code, that's where they're going to go. Anyways, man, I think again, I don't think the market's realized it yet, but once they do, I think that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, let me add to what you said, Nick. Actually, I want to tell you guys this was Nick's idea, and he's a genius. We should look at Energi as a live test net for Ethereum. I want to tell you guys too, because I see some people like hate on Ethereum, or I have a ton of love for Ethereum, and I see the network effects. See Energi as a test bed for Ethereum. You want to launch a live application or an application, a test net, is look at Energi between a test net and between a live net. You guys are launching something, you want to launch on Ethereum, launch it on Energi. The fees are cheap, the blockchain's mature. I want to say something to you guys. I'm the type of person, I see people talk the talk all the time. Few people walk the walk. I'm the sort of person that I'm like, I'm going to walk the walk and then I'll tell the world about it. And I have done that. We have built it. It works. It's live. It's tested. It's ready. It's ready for the world. So launch your applications on Energi. Come see it as like, again, between a test net and a live net, like a live net.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I want to say the technology is built, you guys. This is what I wanted to do. I want to build the technology, make sure it works and all that. It's done. It took years to get here. We've done it. I bootstrapped it. It works great. It's time to have projects come on Energi, partners come on Energi. If you guys know people who are interested in security or who vibe with this kind of new way of looking at blockchain as a place where you can actually have safety, connect with me. I'm on Twitter at Tommy World Power. Send me a DM. My DMs are open. Let's connect. This is how we make the world evolve, you guys. We do it together. So it's ready for that.
I'm going to leave a link down below in the description, guys, if you want to follow Tommy over on Twitter, if you also want to check out Energi and what they're building. Tommy, you guys have built a lot of the foundational things that we didn't get to cover everything today, but I think what's so exciting about this, man, is really that you guys have nailed the security. Once you start to understand that process, I think, of what you guys have built, again, and the layers that you've thought about towards making that security possible so people can't run away with the money, that hackers just have no incentive, this is going to allow for a really safe environment for some cool ideas to thrive in. And hopefully, after nearly 2 years of stagnation in DeFi, as someone who has been passionate about DeFi since the term was getting kind of like created in 2019 at the legacy of the last bear market, now I'm so excited to see what kind of applications are going to be drawn towards this. There's so many people developing Solidity, so many contributors in the space. And this is going to be the ecosystem I think where they can build, man. So I wish you guys all the best. We'll definitely be having you more on the channel, Tommy. I would love to continue the conversation, man, cover some other areas of energy. But I definitely recommend, if you guys haven't, check out the links down below in the description. Learn a little bit about energy as well as a currency, some of the staking. There's tons of things we didn't talk about here today that we will probably cover here on the channel as time progresses. But I've been covering Tommy and their whole journey since 2018. And to me, it is one of the most community grounded protocols I've seen, when there's so many VC chains and so many short-term hype waves. So I'm excited to see it, man. You guys haven't been marketing over the last few years, but now's the time where you're going to get your vision out there, Tommy. So hats off to you, man. I'm really excited to see where things go.
Thank you, Nick. As always, thank you for the support. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And Nick will have the links in the comments. Feel free to reach out. Any collaborations, we're open to. As Nick said, we were focused on building the past years. It's time for plugging it in. We have an NFT marketplace as well. We've been building the past 2 years. That is going into testnet phase. So if you guys are launching NFTs, soon you'll be able to do that on Energi with a good UI. You guys who have seen our products, they're good UIs. It's high quality stuff. So you can count on us for that. And thank you guys. And great times, Nick. Thank you.
Awesome, man. It was a pleasure having you on, Tommy.